The dungeons have appeared after the occurrence of a massive earthquake shaking all over the land of humans. Monsters began pouring out of those dungeons and they weren't affected by normal weapons. But there were people who have managed to awaken supernatural skills to fend off those monsters. They were able to level up and strengthen themselves by using these skills to conquer the dungeons. They were known as the Awakened. Toji was one of those awakened, fighting off monsters for a living. He's currently at level 4 with a skill called Imitate and is mainly using a sword. He slashed off the goblin, but it only left a shallow cut to its chest. With this weak damage, he failed to copy the target skill using his imitation ability. He gritted his teeth, frustrated. The goblin screeched as it raised its club to smash him off. It was almost his end if not for a fireball that suddenly burned so bright from quite a distance, charring off the enemy goblin. It was Kazu who saved him, telling him that he shouldn't be struggling to deal with a weak monster like that. He arrogantly looked down on him, but he has the skills to back up such a douchey attitude. Turns out, was regarded as the shining star of the next generation of the Awakened because of his skill. In this world, skills are the basis for determining one's rank and superiority as an Awakened. Kazu ordered him to retrieve the magic stones, telling him to at least try to make himself useful. He had no choice but to remain silent and compliant to put up with this kind of treatment. After all, he could not go against someone with an extraordinarily powerful skill like Kazu and his Flame Master ability. Compared to it, his imitation skill is basically a trash ability. He began collecting the magic stones, his eyes full of sadness as he thought of how flawed his skill was. The other adventurers, Riku and Hayato, also urged him to give up as they looked down on him. Kazu put on a hypocritical mask and told them not to bully Toji so much as they were all comrades there. With a sarcastic tone, he called him Big Brother and told him to make the most of his trash skill. He could only remain silent and grit his teeth, holding himself back from exploding. He remembered his sister, Miyu, who was the reason he became an adventurer. He was aiming to obtain the omnipotent elixir that could cure any illness, including his sister's congenital disease. The two douchebags asked Kazu about their next target, guessing that it was the boss monster. He then stepped on the corpse of the goblin they had just killed, then declared that they were going to loot all of the treasures in the dungeon for themselves. His flame continued burning inside the dungeon, scorching off all the goblins that appeared on their way. Through hunting the goblins, he managed to level up. Toji was frustrated. The only way to level up is by killing monsters, but he could barely kill one by himself. Even if he joins a party, he couldn't get any experience as Kazu and the others kill them all. He clenched his fist, thinking that coming in that place was pointless. Finally, they came across the treasure room of the dungeon. Heaps of gold coins filled up the room as Riku and Haido immediately knelt in front of it. On the other hand, Kazu went to a wall beside them to check it. A huge explosion ensued and destroyed the wall, revealing a massive door that leads to the bonus room. Bonus rooms were said to be dungeon areas that are filled with valuable and powerful items. However, the said treasures were just baits as bonus rooms are often rigged with traps. Haido knew this and asked Kazu how they were going to deal with the traps. Kazu smiled and revealed to them that he already had an idea. He then approached Toji, then landed a punch on his face. He then tripped, sending him down to the ground as Kazu apologized. He grabbed his neck. The aura he emitted was ominous as he told him that he needs to die for them. Clueless, he asked what he was talking about. Riku and Haido on the other hand seemed to disagree with the idea of using him to trigger the traps, but the evil Kazu just casually brushed it off as finding a way to recycle a useless piece of trash. The two then immediately held Toji by his hands as they approached the door, throwing him off inside the bonus room. Kazu smiled, sarcastic as he told him that they'll meet again if he ever managed to survive. He couldn't do anything as he watched them close the door over him. He sat on the ground, frustrated and helpless. Light began illuminating the dark room, then it turned into a blinding light that made him flinch. When he opened his eyes, the astonishing view of the room's wide interior greeted him. He stood up, then felt an overwhelmingly dreadful aura. He fell to the ground as a monster's paw stepped forward. Its cold eyes shooting dagger stares at him and its protruding shark fangs ready to sink into his flesh. The room was revealed to be the rare mythical rank that no one has conquered before. The god eater Fenrir roared at him. With its domineering appearance, it was no doubt a mythic rank dungeon. He slowly got up, clenching his fists as he mustered all the courage he could have. His parents were already dead, and his only family left was his sister, Mayo. He drew his sword, refusing to die for his sister's sake. He then took off, leaping in the air as he charged against the Fenrir. But all it took was one loud and powerful roar from the mythical beast, and his attack was immediately cancelled. He managed to make a physical contact with the beast, then he was sent flying away. He slammed strongly to the wall to the point that it broke. He failed to imitate the target's skill even after risking it all, only earning him severe injuries and bleeding. As he watched the Fenrir roaring while it approached him, he wondered if it was the end. He stood up, still refusing to die like that. He apologized to his precious sister for being a pathetic brother. His eyes seemed to have lost all his will to fight. A voice was then heard, full of authority as it commanded the word sit. A powerful pressure was then felt pressing all over the dungeon room. Toji was surprised. The mythical beast Fenrir was submitted to the ground effortlessly. The voice commended Fenrir so casually like it was a normal house dog. A woman in high heels stepped in. With her physical features it was clear that she wasn't a human, but nonetheless, her face boasted beauty befitting of the mythical rank title. She spoke with dignity as she welcomed him to her castle. Astonished, Toji couldn't take his eyes off her. He remained seated on the ground, looking up on her as he asked her identity. But the mysterious woman did not answer and instead remarked about his beautiful shape. She shook her head, uttering that it may be impossible with his current state. She then reached for his face, catching him off guard as he asked what she was doing. She leaned closer, whispering alluringly to his ears about the present she was about to give. A massive crimson magic circle was then conjured beneath their feet, and an immense surge of mana waves seeped into his body that made his pupils dilate. His trashy imitation skill has finally evolved, turning into the copycat skill. It wasn't just his skill, he also managed to jump from level 4 up to level 25. The mysterious woman chuckled, then excused herself as he struggled to stand. As she was about to leave, Toji asked her to explain what had just happened. She didn't answer his question again and only told him to use his new power to defeat Fenrir. She added that he'll be able to leave that mythic rank dungeon once he was able to do that. She chuckled before disintegrating into a cluster black smoke. Fenrir then let out a loud roar as it approached Toji, who was still skeptical of his chances of winning against such a monster. Its claws began slicing through the air, aiming to tear his body. Fortunately, he was able to block its powerful attack with his sword. A swirl of mana emerged, followed by the notification that his copycat skill has activated. Though he was able to block the attack, he was still sent backwards. But their clash wasn't in vain. He was able to copy Fenrir's skill. He didn't seem to realize it yet as he wondered how he was supposed to fight that monster. Fenrir stood tall before him, while he remained alert as he waited for its next attack. It took him long enough before he finally realized he was successfully able to copy the target skill, leaving him surprised. Toji immediately checked the skill that he was able to copy. It was called the Heavenly Authority, which enhances one's physical abilities for 1 minute. He smiled. This newfound power might allow him to win. Seeing that the skill only lasts for 1 minute, he knew that he had to be careful with choosing when to use it while facing Fenrir. The monster took off, engaging in a fierce battle with Toji. He was easily able to dodge these fatal attacks. It's like his body felt light after experiencing a huge jump in levels. He grew so strong to the point that he was able to parry the mythical ranked monster's attack. Looking back to his previous imitate skill, it was just a trash skill with low chances of success. It pales in comparison to his new copycat skill that has a 100% success and allows him to keep it permanently. He was wondering what it meant to experience it firsthand before copying the skill. Fenrir then let out a powerful roar, unleashing an overwhelming amount of aura. Toji can be seen struggling to endure such powerful pressure. It was the Divine Wolf's force skill limiting his mobility. He fell to his knees, clasping his neck as he struggled to breathe. The notification popped up, informing him that he successfully managed to copy the Divine Wolf's force. Upon checking the skill description, he learned that it allows him to use the Silver Wolf's presence to intimidate opponents. He finally understood that experiencing meant taking the skill head-on. With this in mind, he stood and was ready to face the wolf's next attack. But no matter how prepared he was still surprised. Fenrir unleashed its skill called Vanagand, a powerful crimson-cutting aura headed towards Toji. He gritted his teeth as he watched the attack come. It was a ridiculously powerful attack that he was barely able to avoid. Upon seeing the humongous claw marks left by the attack, he knew that there was no way he could survive if he was ever hit by that. Fenrir once again roared loudly, and they returned to a fierce exchange of sharp sword and claw slashes. His eyes were brimming with determination to win. He knew that even if his new skill guaranteed him a 100% chance to copy a skill, he knew he'd die if he tried to tank the attack. But he had just acquired the Heavenly Authority skill that enhances his body's physical abilities for 1 minute. Fenrir once again unleashed its sharp, cutting energy towards him. He steeled his nerves as he prepared to receive the attack. It's do or die. He activated the Heavenly Authority skill, enveloping his body in the might of gods. A powerful explosion ensued as he took Fenrir's attack head-on. Thick smokes filled the room. He was successfully able to copy the Vanakan skill. He managed to survive the attack, and is now ready to wrap things up. His eyes beam with desire to make it out alive and overpower the enemy. There was 60 seconds remaining for his skill duration. He raised his sword, enforcing it with a powerful deep blue mana. He then took his step, dashing forward as he unleashed the very same skill Fenrir used against him, Vanagand. A deep blue, sharp, and cutting energy was emitted from his sword, successfully hitting Fenrir. He only has 50 seconds remaining on the skill duration of Heavenly Authority. As he exuded his blue mana, he felt like he was brimming with power because of the skill's effect and proceeded to fearlessly fight Fenrir. The monster roared only to be hit by a slapping roundhouse kick on its face. It was a powerful kick that he managed to send it flying away. He might just be able to win against this monster. There were 30 seconds remaining on skill duration, prompting him to rush and wrap things up faster. He unleashed a flurry of fierce sword play against the wolf as the time was running out. He continued fighting against Fenrir with the thought of defeating him before the time ran out. He was sent backward by a powerful attack. Both Fenrir and him roared, then unleashed the same Venegan skills against each other, resulting in a massive clash of energy. A violent explosion ensued. Toji dodged upon seeing his skill get overpowered. He knew that he could never reach the enemy from a distance because of their gap in levels. This prompted him to dash forward and step in, aiming to land a direct hit against the mythic rank monster. The monster prepared by condensing powerful amounts of energy in its mouth, but it wasn't enough to discourage Toji, who kept on pushing forward. However, he was surprised to see his attack not working. Fenrir unleashed a violent burst of crimson energy towards him. He gritted his teeth as he watched it coming, resulting in an obliterating explosion as the time continued running out. But he was able to dodge and leap high in the air, aiming to land an attack before his time ran out. Fenrir saw him and immediately charged up another attack, to which he raised his sword response. He then threw it with all his might, piercing through the monster's eye. The monster was in agonizing pain as he roared. He immediately pulled out the sword, landing on the monster's muzzle. He raised his sword once again, aiming to finally wrap things up. His face was brimming with the determination to survive as he prepared to thrust his sword. As he brought it down to slash him off, a familiar voice was heard telling him to stop. His sword trembled as he stopped an inch before Fenrir's eyes. He couldn't move even an inch. He was totally frozen as he stood on the monster's head. The copycat skill has activated on its own, successfully copying the wordplay skill that was just used on him. It was the beautiful woman from earlier, commending him for a wonderful performance. She then snapped her fingers, declaring that their fight is hereby over, and invited him to a peaceful tea party. She sat on top of Fenrir. While he asked why exactly she was doing that, she casually told him that it was just to kill time. She revealed that adventurers hardly ever come there. And even if they did, Fenrir would have easily killed them. She said that she had never encountered someone like him, confusing Toji. She then stepped forward and asked if he would hear her request. She leaned closer and caressed his face, telling him that she wanted to experience the outside world for herself. She said that she needed his help because the outer world has a slim amount of monoparticles that hinders her from freely exploring it. Without a second thought, he immediately agreed, surprising the beautiful woman. She chuckled, saying that she didn't expect an immediate answer. Looking back, he knew that can't trust her just yet, but it was undeniable. It was thanks to her that a weakling like him was able to withstand Fenrir. He feels like helping her would benefit him greatly. He wiped his sweat as he asked her how exactly she would see the outer world. But before he could even finish, his vision became blurry. As he collapsed, the beautiful woman caught him in her chest, remarking that he had used up too much strength. With a weak voice, he asked for her name. She smiled, revealing that her name is Loki. Looking at his sleeping face, she expressed her looking forward to working with him. Toji woke up to an unfamiliar ceiling over him. He stared at it for quite a while as he tried to process what had just happened. A voice spoke from beside him, prompting him to get up, and asked who the person was. It was a young girl, seemingly sulking as she asked if he had forgotten her already. It was Loki in her child form, but still exuding a mighty and commanding presence. She smiled playfully, remarking about how cold-hearted of a man Toji was. Loki sat on the chair with her legs crossed, exuding a commanding and authoritative aura. However, her appearance was that of a cute little girl. Toji almost didn't recognize that she was Loki. She told him to drop the honorifics as he can call her by her name. She then got on top of his bed, whining that she couldn't enjoy the outside world because of him being bedridden. She then told him that he's gotta make it up to him. Toji first asked her what happened after he fainted, to which she said that she had carried his body and teleported to a beginner-ranked dungeon. When asked how she got him to the hospital, she seemed to have just learned that this place was called that way. She casually used her telekinetic ability to fetch an apple, revealing that she left his body to the place they teleported to for a passing adventure to find him. He found a loophole if she could teleport. Why did she never go outside till now? She revealed that she was a god, requiring a vast amount of mana particles to maintain her true form. But since the human world has an extremely low volume of mana, she could only manifest in her immature form. He agreed, saying that she could never freely travel with such a childlike form. Hearing it come from a mortal like Toji, she smacked his head and called it an act of insolence. He then asked why she helped him, to which she revealed that she wanted his cooperation. She smiled, refusing to disclose further details, leaving him confused. She snapped her finger and she was surrounded by a thick and suffocating energy of her godliness. She smiled, saying that she was not so ill-mannered as to intrude on any time with his family. She vanished from the room, leaving only traces of black fog. He then looked at the doorway. There stands his sister, Mayo, her voice trembling as she calls his name. The look of worry was seen in her face as Toji called her name. She immediately ran up to him and hugged him, crying as she revealed that he was in a coma for a whole week. He patted her head to console her, then apologized for worrying his precious sister. She gripped tightly on the blanket as her tears fell. With a smile, he assured her that he will never leave her alone. A warm smile finally stretched across her gentle face as she nodded happily. She then excused herself and told him to keep resting. She assured him that she's fine and that there's no need to worry about her. He heaved a sigh of relief, seeing his sister being as hectic as usual. From the corner of the room emerged Loki, asking if that was his sister. He agreed and told her about Moyu, the only remaining family he has. He told her that Moyu had been struggling with an illness. She had been sickly ever since she was born. Even the doctors gave up on her and said that there's no cure for her condition. That was the reason he was delving into dungeons to search for the elixir that can cure all ailments. However, Loki revealed that her illness can never be cured even with the elixir. Toji was surprised. What did she mean by that? To further explain, she added that the source of her condition is most likely the dungeon's curse. He couldn't even begin to understand the sudden revelations, but she wasn't done yet with the surprises. She revealed that her curse is definitely done by another mythic rank being. He figured out that the only way to break the curse would be to take down the god who cast it, to which she agreed. He then called to Loki, prompting her to turn to him. He declared that he will be going after the god who cursed his sister, asking if she would help him. She contemplated for a while as she sat in her chair. She then stood up after a moment, smiling as she said that she would help him along the way. Upon hearing this, he expressed his sincere gratitude. With this, Loki enthusiastically said that they must now take on dungeons every day for his training. But Toji said that he still needed to go to school, leaving Loki confused. He then explained the school for the awakened that is attending to, the Tenjutsu Academy. He then extended his fist toward her, smiling while they bumped their fists as a declaration of them forming a team together. 3 days later, on a day off, the two found themselves at the Japan Dungeon Management Organization. The woman on the information desk wouldn't allow them to enter the dungeon as a solo party. She added that it's only recommended to take on monsters that are at a lower level than theirs. Fighting against a monster of the same level would be an even match, but facing against higher caliber monster results to a large spike in danger level. His card reveals that he's only at level 4, and the monsters that appear at the beginner rank dungeon are all at least level 5. She handed him back his adventurer's card, refusing to entertain them further. Loki pouted as she expressed her dismay through telepathy, while Toji urged her not to say things like that. After all, it was their decision not to show them their updated adventurer's card. Disheartened, he took the card handed by the woman. Loki sighed, wondering if he was really tolerant or just lazy. But they haven't run out of options yet, Loki smiled. She then told him to try using the wordplay skill he copied from her. He caressed his chin as he contemplated whether to do it or not. After careful consideration, he decided to give it a shot. Hesitant, he went back to the woman in the information desk. He then asked her if he could enter the dungeon as a solo player. His words laced with the power of the wordplay skill. Her eyes turned into that of a mindless being, immediately complying to his request. As they left the place, Loki assured him that the activation of the wordplay skill cannot be detected by others. After all, it was a skill of a god like her. He smiled awkwardly, finally having a grasp of what Loki is really capable of. But to Loki, his awkward smile seemed like a hint of disrespect. They made their way inside, and they are now finally standing before the dungeon gate. He immediately scanned his adventurer's card, opening the gate. He entered it together with Loki, his eyes brimming with the resolve to kill even a god just to cure Mayo. Toji finally entered the gate with Loki, confidently walking as he entered with eyes exuding determination to conquer the dungeon. They were inside a dungeon called the Goblin's Den. He expressed his desire to test his limits and see how far he can go now. As they were talking, a monster appeared. It was a level 5 goblin wielding a blade. Toji grabbed his sword, planning to test his strength against these kinds of monsters. He wasted no time and immediately attacked, slashing off the goblin with a clean and heavy swing. The goblin's dead body fell to the ground in an instant. Meanwhile, Loki wasn't that much impressed, as the monster he defeated was just a low-level mob. He whined in response to her complaints, leaving her sign helplessly. He picked up the magic stone from the goblin. He knew that the reason he was able to level up that far was because Loki granted him a large amount of mana particles. It was thanks to that he can defeat the goblins that he couldn't beat on his own back then effortlessly. At that, he turned to her and expressed his gratitude, inflating the ego of the childish god. She then turned to him and asked what was next, to which he said that they would keep heading deeper. He declared that their goal would be to reach the boss room. Heading to the floor 5 of the Gauntlet's den, Toji traversed the stairs leading down the dungeon. Loki then sighed helplessly, expressing her boredom as they continued on their way. She then poked his cheeks, saying that she was expecting a thrilling battle that would get her blood rushing. However, the monsters in this dungeon were too low level to even be called Toji's opponents. Her eyes then averted their gaze. In front of them was a massive army of goblins waiting for them. The appearance of this horde signifies that the boss room is nearby. He wasted no time and immediately leaped, decapitating one of the goblins in an instant with his swift movements. Knowing that the first one to move takes the win, he instantly dashed and mercilessly mutilated the enemies in his way. This feeling was new to him. He can take even these many goblins all on his own. He was like a reaper in the battlefield, effortlessly harvesting their heads with a swing of his blade, but the goblins seemed to not know fear as they continued rushing forward. There was still a lot of them remaining, charging forward to attack him. Toji expressed his impatience. He lifted his sword and charged it with an overwhelming amount of mana. Loki was alarmed as she saw this. Knowing what he was trying to do, she prompted him to stop, but it was too late. He already unleashed the Vinagan skill. A massive explosion occurred as soon as he fired his devastating attack. As the smoke died down, a massive sword slash was seen stretching along the floor of the dungeon. He smiled with the attack power he had just displayed, but he suddenly felt a sharp pain all throughout his body. It was painful enough to send him kneeling to the ground. He then turned to Loki for answers, to which he revealed that the pain was the price of using divine techniques with his weak human body. The reason it didn't happen back then was because he was using the heavenly authority at that time. She then turned to him, then declared the forbidding of the use of all the skills copied from Fenrir. Toji was surprised. On the other hand, Loki said that this is a handicap, so he won't overly rely on his trump card. She let out a mischievous laugh, leaving him dismayed. After a short while, they finally found themselves in front of the fancy entrance of the boss room. The Goblin King was the final boss of the Goblin's Den with the ability to infinitely summon more goblins. He let out a sigh as he prepared himself, then opened the door to enter. As they entered, they were greeted by a spacious interior and a throne. Sitting there was the Goblin King, exuding an air of dominance. He grabbed his sword while the Goblin King began to move. He stood, but the sight of the level 15 goblin didn't scare him at all. A dark and ominous aura began accumulating beneath his feet. From his shadows emerged a smoke, summoning goblins at once. In no time, an army of goblins emerged behind the king. But as someone who had survived and even defeated Fenrir, this was no big deal for Toji. But suddenly, Loki's voice was heard casting a spell. The Goblin King began exuding an overwhelming amount of energy as it raged. The same goes for goblins. It turns out that all the enemies have entered a berserk state. He angrily turned back to Loki and asked what she did, to which she replied that this shall serve as a test for him. He was confused upon hearing her answer, then the smile stretched across his face. He prepared himself as he faced the enraged Goblin King. As he stood before the berserk Goblin King, Loki told him to do his best, to which he replied that he was a very Spartan god. The goblin's eyes were brimming with rage. They all angrily charged forward against Toji. He kicked off the ground, throwing himself into the incoming monster horde. Loki watched with her eyes full of anticipation. Toji was seen slashing through the berserk goblins surrounding him. He swung his sword against one of them, but it didn't seem to do much as the goblin worded him. This prompted him to launch a heavier swing to finish it off. More goblins were seen approaching him, prompting him to take a step back. He then unleashed a heavy horizontal swing against them, cutting them in half all at once. He may seem doing good, but is actually struggling due to Loki's berserk buff. The Goblin King then roared, unleashing an overwhelming amount of energy as he summoned more berserk goblins. Toji was up against an almost infinite number of enemies. He noticed it and figured out that the enemy's summoning skill makes it hard for him, but he still charged forward nonetheless, still swinging his sword and slashing the goblins. As he continued to fight, he realized that the only way to finish this would be to defeat the Goblin King. He then turned to the Goblin King as is going to be his next target. He then ordered him to not use any skill, his words laced with the powers of his wordplay skill. Chains suddenly appeared and began restricting the Goblin King's movements. He was trembling as he tried to break free, allowing him to snap the chains in no time. He immediately leaped, angrily charging towards Toji as he swung his massive wooden club. He smashed it against him, but he was able to block. However, it was still powerful enough to send him flying. As he stood up from his fall, he was wondering what had happened. Loki butted in and said that it would have worked had she not granted the monster the berserk status, followed by a mischievous smile drawing in her lips as she seemingly teased him. He looked at him, finally realizing something. The Goblin King's skills weren't sealed. The Goblin King would once again, unleashing a powerful aura as he summoned a massive horde of berserk goblins. As Toji stared at the Goblin King, Loki told him that he must find a way to turn the tables in this kind of predicament. He realized that the one who cursed Maya was a mythic-ranked god like Loki, and he could never beat such an enemy if he can't overcome a mere horde of berserk goblins. The trickster god was amused as she asked if he could still fight. He firmly expressed his will, wielding the sword as he prepared for another round. His eyes were brimming with the intent to kill the enemy. He then charged, mercilessly cutting through the goblins like a pruning blade to grasses. He continued pushing through, not discouraged by their sheer number. The Goblin King was waiting for him, while Toji was coming to kill him. This murderous intent was enough to make even the so-called king tremble in fear. He then roared loudly, once again activating his summoning skill. However, this was what Toji was waiting for. He then planted his sword to the ground, unleashing a powerful bluish shadow energy around him. He activated the copycat skill, successfully copying the Gauntlet King's summoning skill. He extended his hands and called for his summon, immediately activating the newly copied skill. A powerful summoning circle was conjured beneath his feet as the horde of goblins stopped to watch. His smiles were full of anticipation as he wondered what his summon would be. A blinding light of heavenly energy bursted from the summoning circle, followed by a domineering growl. When he looked, he saw a cute monster face as well as its cute monster paws. He was surprised to see that it was Fenrir's puppy happily greeting him as his new master. Standing before Toji was the puppy of the monster he fought at the bonus room. He turned back to him, then snuggled his face against his foot. Seeing this, Loki couldn't help but burst into laughter. He then looked at the puppy. He couldn't help but remark his uncanny resemblance to Fenrir. The goblins then charged forward against the two of them, prompting the puppy to run and prove himself to his new master. As he leaped in the air, the puppy unleashed an immature Vanarjan skill. A powerful explosion ensued as Toji stood behind the puppy. He couldn't help but laugh in awe of his attack power. The puppy stared at him while wagging his tail as if waiting for its master to praise him. He immediately knelt down and patted the puppy on its head. He asked him if he would fight by his side, to which the puppy responded with a happy bark. As they faced the Goblin King and his underlings, Toji left the little guys to this puppy. The Goblin King charged, prompting him to do the same. The puppy also threw himself towards the sea of berserk goblins. Finally, he could fight the Goblin King one-on-one without any interruptions. The Goblin King roared as he swung his wooden club, while Toji prepared to slash off the enemy. The boss monster unleashed a heavy swing that shattered the ground, but Toji was able to block it. He yelled as he pushed forward, successfully parrying the enemy's heavy attack. He was so focused, his eyes could clearly see the enemy's movements. He found a weakness in his defense and immediately went for it, stabbing the Goblin King in the foot. This sent the Goblin King kissing the ground. As he struggled to get up, his eyes dilated at the sight that greeted him. In front of him was the puppy staring at the mountain of goblin corpses that he defeated in no time. Toji heaved a sigh of relief upon seeing the Goblin King on the verge of defeat. He then charged forward with his sword, stabbing the Goblin King on the head without a shred of hesitation. He pulled it out and called to the puppy, who leaped in the air to land the critical blow to the weakened boss monster. He unleashed the Vanarjan skill, landing a powerful cutting energy to the Goblin King's body. As the Goblin King neared his death, Toji went in for the finishing strike and planted his sword on the Goblin King's forehead. As the battle settled, Toji stood triumphantly while he sheathed his sword. Loki commended him for his victory, but reminded him not to get arrogant. He closed his eyes and agreed to what she had just said. He gripped the magic stone tightly, feeling proud of what he had just accomplished. He smiled. He's slowly getting closer to curing his sister. Loki then asked him about what he would name the little puppy, prompting him to caress his chin and think. He then named him Lupin, to which the puppy seemed to like as he snuggled to his legs. He patted his head as they prepared to head back. They then happily walked out of the dungeon. At the information desk of the dungeon management organization, the woman was surprised. He brought out the magic stones as proof of conquering the dungeon. Though hesitant, she had no choice but to comply with his request. Toji noticed the skepticism written all over her face, making the situation awkward. As he finished the transaction, he decided that it's time to head back, but the gathering of the crowd caught his attention. Over there was Kazu and his team talking to a lady. Turns out that Kazu's party was trying to recruit her. The lady stood and remained silent. As he continued to stare at her, he figured out that she was the rumored number one awakened, exuding a domineering aura contrary to her frail build, Rin. She apologized and expressed her lack of interest in coming to Kazu's party. Watching this, Toji couldn't help but remark that it was a harsh rejection. She then averted her gaze as she noticed him. Kazu and his party were also surprised as they turned around. Toji is now the center of attention. Everyone was looking at him. She came to him and asked him to wait for a moment, prompting him to politely greet her. He said that he didn't expect to run into her, to which she replied that she came there to look for him, surprising Toji. She then revealed that she received a call from the receptionist about a level 4 adventurer who solo cleared a dungeon. She wore a mischievous smile, certain that the person she's talking about was none other than Toji. Rin was revealed to be the #1 student at Tenjutsu Academy and was in the same class as Toji and Kazu. Amazing talent along with her good looks has got the media all over her. Seeing that she already knows about him secretly clearing the dungeon alone, he realized that the receptionist probably told her after the effects of the wordplay skill wore off. Looking back, he further realized that it was a mistake to force his way into the dungeon like that. Rin then asked him to just show his D card if it's hard for him to explain. She then ominously spoke, speculating that there might be something in there that he couldn't show her. He blushed as she pointed to him, further raising suspicions that he was hiding something. Loki teased him and said that he let her seduce him easily, to which he refuted and almost had a slip of the tongue. He immediately covered his mouth when he realized, leaving Rin confused. He then said that it was nothing, asked if he just had to show his D card. He was about to hand her his card when he heard a voice. It was Kazu, making the two of them turn their heads. All of Toji's former teammates were there looking for him. Seeing him, Toji was alarmed. He greeted him with a sarcastic tone, followed by Rikyu and Heigo doing the same. Toji's guards were up in their presence and Rin noticed this heightened alertness of him. Kazu turned to her and asked her one more time. But before he could even finish, Rin ignored him and asked Toji to show his D card. The arrogant mutt was surprised, while Toji complied and handed his card. She inspected it closely. His card shows that he's already at level 15 with the imitate skill registered. With this, she was able to confirm that he was indeed the one who solo cleared the dungeon. Everyone was surprised upon hearing this revelation. He thanked her as she handed back his D card. She then caressed her chin, saying that she didn't know he had so much hidden talent. He smiled awkwardly, thinking it was all thanks to Loki, but then Kazu was enraged, calling him a liar and a garbage. He even accused him of cheating. While Toji remained silent, Rin seemed pissed as she asked if Kazu was being serious. She reminded him that there was no way to forge a fake D card. She then turned back to Toji and asked if he was free, suggesting he form a party with her and go into a dungeon some other time. Both the two of them were surprised. He couldn't begin to comprehend why she picked Toji instead of him. He continued trying to push his suggestion of Rin teaming up with him, only to be met by her cold and sharp glare. She was firm on the fact that Toji indeed cleared the dungeon alone. She then turned to Kazu, then smiled as she said that she never liked people with a trashy attitude like him. The three of them were speechless, while she added that she was aware of all the nasty things they'd done. They remembered what they had done to Toji back then, where they left him to die by using him to trigger the traps in the bonus room. Kazu was pissed. He grabbed Toji's collar and angrily asked if he was snitching on them. He remained calm, wondering what to do. This composed demeanor of him pissed Kazu even more, prompting him to throw a punch. He effortlessly flicked off his hands, then tilted his head to evade him. When Kazu realized it, Toji had already gotten away. He grew so enraged that he began conjuring a fireball. Seeing this, he urged him to calm down, but the simple-minded mutt was blinded by his anger and unleashed his flames. With this, Rin had no choice but to step in. She effortlessly flicked away his attack. Toji was surprised, and the same goes for Kazu. With a voice full of authority, she reminded him that it was forbidden to use skills outside a dungeon. Kazu stuttered as he tried to put the blame on Toji, leaving her amused by how thick-faced and shameless he is. She then grabbed his hands, pulling him out of that place. Kazu clenched his fist, utterly enraged as he swore to destroy him. At a beginner-ranked dungeon, Toji and Rin found themselves facing several kobolds. They were in the Kobold Settlement, a beginner-ranked dungeon with a recommended level of 15. As he followed her, he was wondering what she was really hoping to accomplish. He then asked her if she really was okay with fighting them alone, to which she confidently said it was no problem. Kobolds then began charging at her, prompting her to charge forward as well. In no time, the kobolds turned into mincemeat through the edge of her divine sword. As he watched her, he couldn't help but be amazed by her skills. Looking at her divine sword, Loki seemed to know something about it. Rin told him that it was his turn. A kobold was charging against him. He immediately assumed a fighting stance in response, then lunged forward as he swung his sword. To his surprise, the kobold blocked it with his shield. It then leaped to attack him, prompting him to back away several steps from the kobold. Rin urged him to stay on guard as the kobolds were smarter compared to goblins. She then revealed that one way to take down a shield bearer is to break through using force. The other way is currently being put to action by Toji. He used a feint and then slipped past behind the kobold. Rin watched him deal with the shield bearer, kobold. With eyes brimming with the intent to kill, he unleashed a slash that severed the enemy's head. She smiled upon seeing that he's doing better than she thought. She commended him for his great work, earning her his thanks. Upon seeing his performance, she decided that she'll let him handle the big one. She winked at him and revealed that she was referring to the mini-boss. As they continued traversing the dungeon, they finally encountered a Cabal general at level 15. Behind him was a pack of armored Cabal. Rin said that they will start by taking out the followers, to which he agreed. A fierce battle ensued. The two of them were like reapers harvesting the enemy heads like crops. The kobold general unleashed a heavy swing against the two of them. As they backed away, they realized that there was no point in killing the followers. Now that they learned of the situation, she asked him what he would do in such a situation. As they finished playing out, they immediately synergized their swords and took out the underlings in one fell swoop. As they continued to fight, Toji asked if her guild was fine with her dungeon raiding with him. She said that it was fine and revealed that she was planning to quit from the guild anyway. Hearing this, he was surprised. She told him to save the chat for later and finish the enemies first. Rin attacked the Cabal general up front, while Toji sneaked behind her to land a surprise attack. He dashed forward, his slash successfully connecting to the monster's belly. He then called to her, who seems to have understood the plan and went in for a follow-up, but then the remaining underlings stepped forward to protect the mini-boss. With this, the two of them had no choice but to back away. As they stood facing the enemy, Ren couldn't help but stomp her feet in frustration. She bursted into annoyance from having to deal with Kazu already. She was furious, directing her frustration against the kobolds, mercilessly cutting them down in one slash. Toji asked if she was serious about leaving the guild, surprising him as he heard that she was. She further explained that it's a lot more trouble than it's worth. The kobolds ran towards them to attack while she planned on using them to distress. She raised her hand as she prepared a wide AoE skill. Her body exuded divine energy as she called upon the stars, ordering them to rain down on the enemies. The sky was suddenly lit up by the appearance of shiny lanterns, showering the enemies with a barrage of earth-obliterating attacks. Toji was surprised upon witnessing the power of the top youth. She stretched her hands, finally feeling refreshed. They decided to take a break first before heading to the final boss. Rin told him the story of the great hero, Dejiro, who cleared a heroic rank dungeon first. It was revealed that he was her grandfather who gave her the sword on her waist. She recalled all the stories he told her about the adventures he had with his comrade. Looking up at the sky, she said she wanted to experience that as well. Toji looked at her silently. She then revealed that she was planning to start a guild in the near future, asking him to lend her his strength when that time comes. He blushed and turned away as he agreed. She then stood up and decided to make way to the boss room. They finally arrived at the location of the boss room, but there were silhouettes of adventurers in there. They turned out to be Kazu and his goons, revealing that they had been waiting for them. He then turned to Toji with a pissed look and berated him. The latter remained silent, shooting dagger stares at him. Kazu was annoyed at the sight of the weakling he once bullied, while Toji seemed ready to retaliate at any time. Ren was amused by this coincidence and asked what they were doing in that place. He replied that he was there to help friends. But to Toji, who has been a subject of their constant bullying, he found his words ridiculous. Rin reiterated the word friends, her tone laced with sarcasm. Kazu went on with his nonsense, but the unamused girl seemed impatient as she urged him to challenge the boss already. It was revealed that the unspoken rule among adventurers is first come, first serve. He arrogantly declared that he will show them his true glory in action. The three of them went in first, while Toji and Rin decided to follow and watch. In a separate dimension, Loki turned out to be watching them. Her face dimmed as she heard Kazu mocking Toji. She gritted her teeth as she took his insult personally. In front of them was the level 20 Cabal King, possessing the same skill as the Goblin King to summon underlings. It also has a powerful skill called Thundering Blade. The three of them stood before the enemy, prepared to take them down. Kazu immediately ignited the battlefield with his flames as his goons charged forward to attack. They were indeed powerful enough to defeat the Kobold King. As the explosion ensued, he turned to Rin and boasted his power. But then, Loki's voice was heard casting a spell. This surprised Toji, who knew what was about to happen. Kazu was surprised to see the Kobold King suddenly transforming. The boss monster let out a loud roar as he went berserk, prompting Kazu to cast multiple fireballs as the final boss charged toward him. Condensing his sword was an enormous amount of energy, summoning a barrage of powerful thunder strikes that hit Kazu. He then swung his blade, sending the arrogant adventurer slamming to the walls of the dungeon. Even Rin couldn't even begin to comprehend what had just happened. Toji gritted his teeth and asked Loki what she was doing, to which she revealed that this was their punishment for getting in his way. Looming over the knockdown Kazu was the shadow of the Kobold King, raising his sword to deliver the final blow as he pathetically begged for his dear life. But the monster showed no mercy and unleashed the heavy downward slash, prompting Rin to come to his rescue. She couldn't help but remark about the monster's ridiculous strength as she blocked it. Loki then urged Toji to step in as well and help them, to which he said she was horrible. As the boss monster pushed forward, a powerful kick connected to his cheeks, sending him flying away. He then asked Rin to take Kazu and the others away while she was still surprised. As the Cabal King summoned more of his underlings, Toji declared that he would take down the monster. Even injured, Kazu still wouldn't stop running his mouth to berate him. Toji ignored them and focused on the enemy ahead of him. Rin then agreed and left things in Toji's hands, reminding him that he must not push himself before they left. Toji sighed and told Loki to keep her tricks to a minimum. His eyes then glowed with azure energy, summoning the Fenrir's puppy, Lufin. Kazu was surprised to see his summon, while Rin blushed as she found him cute. Toji and Lufin charged forward, throwing themselves toward the enemies. He told him to deal with the Kabuls, to which he barked in agreement. He then went to face the Kabul king, but he was so powerful that he managed to send him flying effortlessly. He maneuvered in the air and landed gracefully to a wall, then kicked off to hurl himself back to the battle. He came back with more power and delivered a sharp sword slash against the Kobold king. He gritted his teeth in frustration. The cut he gave the boss monster was too shallow. It only enraged the already berserk Kobold king. Fortunately, he was able to copy his Thundering Blade skill, an ability that enhances the strength and pierce rate of the user's attacks. His whole body was then enveloped in crimson lightning as he activated the skill. The Kobold king watched him with an enraged expression. Toji turned to Lufin and signaled him to attack. The puppy leaped to the air and unleashed a powerful claw slash, dealing critical damage to the Kobold king's body. But it wasn't enough to take him down, his eyes still burning with rage. He roared once again and summoned more kobolds, prompting him to raise his lightning and force sword. He activated the Thundering Blade skill, summoning a powerful bolt of lightning that electrified the boss monster. He wasted no time and attacked while the enemy was still stunned. The Kobold king's eyes dilated. Toji's blade had already pierced his body. His eyes glowed azure as lightning blitzed around his body, finally delivering the final blow to the boss monster. The monster was thoroughly crushed. It was a one-sided beating. Rin was surprised. Her jaw was left hanging. Toji picked up the magic stone as he concluded the battle. He commended him for his good work. Still can't get over the shock. Loki asked if he must really go school while happily munching on an apple. Toji put on his uniform as he told her that he had to attend school in order to do dungeons. He also added that he might be able to find some clues about who could have placed the curse on Moyu. But to the stubborn god, going to dungeons is the best way to get stronger, but she gave up on convincing him. It seems like the academy is interesting as well. She then covered herself in black smoke as she bid her goodbye, reminding that she'll be watching over him. At the Tenjutsu Academy, Room 2A, everyone was surprised to see Toji in the school. They thought that he had died already and wondered when a failure like him would give up. As he settled down, he figured out that Kazu was the one behind the rumors of his death. Suddenly, Rin approached him. She greeted him and expressed her thanks for raiding with her yesterday. He returned the greetings and thanked her back for the invaluable practice. She then suggested for them to conquer the intermediate rank dungeon called Abode of the Dead. In her mind, she still doesn't know the limits of Toji's strength, planning to uncover his secret. He sensed that she was suspicious of him, making him regret using his skills in front of her. Meanwhile, everyone was wondering why Rin is being friendly with him. She ignored them and asked if he was free to go with her after school. The door opened as someone entered. All eyes were fixed on him. It was Kazu. His brows furrowed, then angrily turned to Toji as he told him that he had some nerve to show up. Rin chimed in and returned the barge to him. The two of them locked into a stare down, leaving Toji helplessly hoping it doesn't turn into another hassle. Kazu turned to him and challenged him to a match, surprising Toji. Loki wore a mischievous smile upon hearing that. He told him that he shouldn't run away if he really cleared a dungeon solo. Toji was about to decline when Loki spoke, urging him to accept his challenge. He contemplated for a moment, thinking he doesn't want to stand out anymore. Loki added that it is to appease her boredom, urging him to tell Kazu to bring his buddies too. She said that it's a chance to get back at him and show who's really in charge. Hearing this, he realized that it was indeed reasonable to settle things already. He agreed to the fight, surprising Rin. He added that he should bring his two friends so he can take them all on. It sounded arrogant for Kazu, whose veins were almost popping from his head. Loki said a plain fight is boring and urged him to add on a wager. He agreed and put forth the condition that he must let Rin leave the guild and approve her registration of a new guild. He then told him not to get in the way of her dreams any further, making her blush upon hearing it. He gritted his teeth, fuming mad as he threatened to kill him. At the Tenjutsu Academy training grounds, Toji was seen facing off against the three arrogant mutts. He said that whoever falls or surrenders first would lose, to which the three of them agreed. He swung down his sword and prepared to fight. Kazu wasted no time and immediately launched a fireball against him, to which he effortlessly evaded. Rikyū followed by charging at him, aiming to land a fist on his face. He immediately backed away as the attack shattered the arena's floor. He followed up with a kick to which he was able to block. Behind him was Heido, condensing a lightning bolt in his hands. He then fired it against Toji, who blocked it with his wooden sword. Kazu won't give him any time to recover and immediately fires another attack, to which Toji subtly countered it and casted the same spell. A massive explosion ensued in front of Kazu. Rin looked worried as she called his name. The arrogant mutt grinned as he continued calling him a failure, but then he came out of the flames unscathed. He activated his copycat skill, successfully copying the Herculean strength and thunderbolt. Meanwhile, Loki was yawning in boredom as he watched their pathetic performance. This time, Toji assumed a fighting stance as he prepared to go on offense. He immediately charged toward Riku, who balled his fist to deliver his powerful punch. But to his surprise, Toji was able to block his attack barehandedly using the very skill he copied from him. Everyone was surprised upon seeing this. With Riku caught off guard, he wasted no time and immediately punched him in the gut. As he was suspended in the air, Toji spun to gain momentum, swinging his foot for a spinning roundhouse kick. He was able to deliver it perfectly, sending Riku flying away with his own skill. Kazu was trembling in anger as he called Toji's name. Toji responded, saying that it's time to finally put this thing to an end. He threw a sharp glance at Kazu, who told him not to get all cocky after taking down Riku. He fired another vicious flame attack, and multiple fireballs were rushing towards him. He effortlessly cut them down with his sword, his eyes glowing azure. Everyone was surprised that Toji wasn't anymore the weakling they looked down on. Rin smiled upon seeing him doing good. He pointed his sword to Kazu and asked if he was giving up already. This attitude of him utterly pissed his arrogant mug and threatened to kill him. Toji told him not to swear much in response. Kazu continued running his mouth, prompting him to tell him to stop talking and come at him already. Heido casted his thunderbolt skill, to which Toji skillfully dashed side by side to evade and close the distance. He then placed his hands on Heido's chest, then said that he can take back his own attack. He activated the copy thunderbolt skill, electrifying him with his very own skill. As Heido fell down, he turned to Kazu. He gritted his teeth as he remembered his imitate skill. He knew that it was a one-time use skill, making him smile as he thought that he had already won. Loki finds his ungrounded confidence hilarious. The atmosphere of the battle was tense, but the trickster god couldn't contain her laughter. What he didn't know was that Toji has already evolved his skill, but he still wanted to keep this fact a secret. This is the reason he has to refrain from using the Herculean strength and thunderbolt once again. But remembering his painful past of suffering from their constant bullying, he was determined to get his payback. Kazu told him not to get cocky just because he managed to beat them by a fluke, to which retorted by asking if he's only good at talking big. He couldn't contain his rage upon hearing his clap back. He angrily dashed forward as he swung his sword. His eyes were full of murderous intent, but Toji blocked it like it was nothing. His pupil then dilated in surprise, seeing Kazu cast his flame ability at point-blank range. He unleashed a powerful burst of his fiery wrath directly to his face. Rin was worried upon seeing it, while Kazu smiled triumphantly as he thought he had won already. A silhouette was seen standing as the smoke died down, surprising Kazu. He further provoked him by reminding him that such a skill didn't work on him earlier. The arrogant smiles in his face were replaced with confusion, prompting Toji to explain that his flame skill never hit him. He refused to believe it, insisting that he hit him directly in the face. Toji then dropped the truth to him. The explosion from earlier was caused by his flames. Reality dawned on him. Toji copied his skill. He remembered that he must have copied it from back then when he first used it. He's still having a hard time believing it as his skills hardly ever worked until today. He took a step closer, declaring that he's finally bringing the match to an end. The enraged Kazu charged forward without thinking, casting multiple fireballs at once. With his fierce swordplay, Toji deflected the shower of fireballs aimed at him. He didn't even break a bead of sweat as he continued slashing his way in. He managed to close the gap as he dashed forward, prompting Kazu to unleash a mindless attack as he panicked. He took this opportunity to evade and sneak behind him. As he turned back, he was greeted by Toji's sword slash to which he barely blocked. He was sent backwards with that powerful swing. He couldn't do anything but call his name, utterly furious. He then activated his wordplay skill and commanded him to not move, surprising Kazu as he successfully restricted his mobility. Toji activated the flame skills he copied from Kazu, further adding to his surprise. He remembered that he must have copied it from the time he showered him with fireballs. He panicked upon seeing him approach and admitted that he's surrendering. Toji's face darkened, ignoring his pleas as he snapped his fingers, activating a powerful burst of scorching flames that burned Kazu from where he was standing. He could only yell in agonizing pain. He then fell to his knees while Toji stood triumphantly in front of him as he declared the arrogant mutt's defeat. It was over, yet Kazu still couldn't comprehend how he could possibly lose to him. Toji activated wordplay and commanded him to keep his promise. His eyes turned to that of a mindless vessel as he expressed his compliance, then fell down to the arena's floor with his face first. A few days after the battle, Rin was able to safely leave the guild as they had planned. Just like that, the two of them created their very own guild. The Japan Dungeon Management Organization finally let Rin leave without issues after the battle, prompting the two of them to create their very own guild afterward. With this, Rin seemed to have their next destination planned in mind. Of course, it was another dungeon. Toji curiously asked if it was another beginner rank 1, to which she replied that they will now try the intermediate rank Abode of the Dead dungeon. Toji asked if she was for real, to which she only replied with a chuckle. The creepy atmosphere was all over the place as the two of them entered the eerie dungeon. Toji knew that he could never let his guard down inside this place. Rin turned to him and asked him why the long face, to which he brushed it off as simply thinking about how they should stay vigilant. He then activated his skill and called for Lupin, summoning Fenrir's puppy in turn. He knelt down to pat Lupin in the head as the puppy happily barked. Ren couldn't contain her admiration as she blushed. Toji then offered if she wanted to hug Lupin, surprising the puppy. She was cheerful upon hearing this, then immediately squeezed her cheeks against Lupin's. The poor puppy seemed to be asking for Toji's help, to which he ignored him. Ren asked Toji to tell her more about the puppy. He introduced him as a familiar that he can summon by using a skill. The mood turned serious when Rin asked when and where exactly did he copy it from. Loki admired her sharp senses while Rin waited for him to answer. He reluctantly spoke, to which he smiled in response. She assured him that he didn't have to force himself to answer as her question was rude in the first place. She knelt and patted Lupin in the head, saying she trusts the two of them. She gave her a wink and asked if they had got her back. He enthusiastically responded, assuring her that she could leave it to him. She stood up and said that she would be in his care, although there won't be a need for that. The group of undead monsters then emerged out of nowhere. They were at level 23, vicious red eyes staring at them as they wielded their weapons. Rin volunteered to take the lead and asked him to back her up. She was confident in the ability of her divine sword that was especially made for these kinds of enemies. She threw dagger stares at the enemy, then charged forward as she threw herself into them. The skeletons were chopped up like mincemeat despite not having flesh on them. Finally, putting these pitiful undead to rest through the edge of her blade, they were thoroughly obliterated by the sword's mysterious energy. Loki figured out that it was a holy sword, a perfect counter for them. However, there are still lots of them remaining. This prompted Toji and Luffy to join the fray. He'd unleashed a kick that broke the undead skull, sending it flying away. He finally managed to get in. He's now standing back to back with Rin together with Luffy. Knowing that simply defeating these tenacious skeletons was not enough, he was prompted to end things cleanly and decapitated it. But the skeleton's body glowed red, healing its own injuries, even attacking back its own head. Toji deemed the situation bad as he found himself surrounded by these undying mobs. Rin noticed that Toji was struggling while she effortlessly killed the monsters. She was prompted to help him out, to which he asked if he was going to use her skill. She smiled and said she's only going to use her sword. She raised it as it was enveloped by a holy energy, enchanted a spell with her eyes closed as she began channeling its power. She opened her eyes as the sword glowed, emitting a blinding radiance and brightness that covered the whole place. In an instant, the undead soldiers were obliterated and only magic stones were left. She explained that it was just a simple holy sword's radiance. She then asked him to collect the magic stones as she held Lupin in her arms. She patted his head, to which the puppy seemed to like. Now they were standing in front of the massive entrance that leads to the boss room. All that's left for the two of them would be to take down the boss. He asked about their plan in fighting the boss, to which she told him not to mind it much as she has a plan already. She smiled confidently, telling him to just wait and see her bring it down in one hit. Inside the boss room was a massive army of the undead, and the two of them were standing in front of it. Sitting on the throne was the dungeon boss, the level 38 undead lord. Was grinning menacingly, but this was nothing but a mere spectacular view for Loki. He then asked about her strategy as they stood before the enemy, to which she casually said that she'll only wipe them out with her skill. He was skeptical, but Rin was very serious about her plan. She revealed that the boss skill makes it bad for them to take much time defeating it. The undead creator skill turns out to be one of the strongest among all summon-type skills, allowing one to freely create undead soldiers. She revealed that the skill she'll be using to destroy them all in one go needs some time to charge. This prompted Toji to step forward, volunteering that he will buy her time with Luffin. He turned to her and told her to not mess up, to which she retorted and assured that she'll end it without a hitch. Conjuring flames in his hand, Toji activated the Flame Master skill he copied from Kazu. With this, he showered the enemies with his fireball, while Luffy charged forward to deal damage to them. A powerful explosion ensued in front of them. However, the boss monster and its guards weren't down yet. He activated his Thundering Blade skill, enveloping his sword in blitzes of electricity. He swung down his blade, summoning a shower of lightning that electrocuted the enemies. He then took off, leaping off high in the air as he raised his sword against the boss monster. But his attack was blocked by two more swords. It was from the guards of the boss monster. They were powerful enough to push him back. As he got sent back flying, a crimson-black energy was fired from behind. It was from Luffin's attack successfully hitting the guards. A massive explosion followed. But when the smoke died down, the boss monster as well as his guards were unscathed. His eyes glowed with purple energy, gradually disintegrating his army of the undead. Their energy was then condensed, further amplifying the guards' powers and summoning a few more high-ranking undead. As Toji watched it, he couldn't believe that it was a part of his skill. He turned to Loki, who was laughing at the situation, and scolded her. The trickster god then angrily reminded him of the true enemy he needs to face. He gripped his sword tight, realizing the truth in her words. He then smiled and told the god to just watch over him. She smiled with anticipation, telling him to entertain her. As he stood there, he realized that wildly throwing his skills won't work. This prompted him to condense the flames at the tip of his fingers. He's going for a calculated and precise attack with his flame skill. He fired a thin burst of his flames, successfully hitting one of the undeads in the chest. She commended him for innovating his copied skills. The undead was left with a burning hole on its chest, then fell down in front of the others. Seeing this, the other undeads were trembling in fear. Toji enveloped his sword in flames, then unleashed a fiery slash towards them. He then turned and called out to Rin, who was already finished with her preparations. From the skies lit up countless stars. She raised her hands as she activated her powerful skill. Her Turnog skill was activated, powerful burst of holy energy. She was like an opera conductor weaving her hands as a barrage of divine retribution showered the area. He couldn't help but be amazed by her skill. Nothing was left in the aftermath of the battle but a large crater caused by her powerful attack. She brought the massive magic stone from the dungeon boss and thanked Toji. Meanwhile, Loki teased him for doing nothing but buying time. She then suggested that they head back already as their mission was completed. However, Loki warned him to stay alert as the fight wasn't over yet. As he asked the god what she meant, a powerful surge of unholy energy was felt from behind. He turned back only to be surprised by what greeted him. A humongous monster was standing before them, boasting his domineering presence. It was a level 50 Archie-man with skills yet to be known. Rin was surprised. What is an advanced rank boss doing there? The Archie-man then approached them, prompting Rin to whip out her teleportation stone as she called for Toji. He immediately rushed towards her. A circle of blue light then enveloped Rin while Toji and Luffy ran towards her. As they managed to get inside the circle, she wasted no time and immediately activated the teleportation stone. The archdemon looked down on them. The teleportation stone didn't work, and their only option was to fight it. He turned to Loki and asked if this was her doing, to which he said it wasn't. However, she angrily revealed that someone deliberately did this. For now, the only way out would be to defeat the archdemon by themselves. He then heaved a sigh of helplessness, prompting her to ask if he was all right. He assured her that he was fine and just had something in his mind. He flashed a dry smile, wishing he could be as composed as Rin thinks he is. The archdemon approached, his arms enveloped in blitzes of demonic energy. She turned to him and asked about the plan, to which he inquired about the cooldown of her skill. She revealed that she still needs about 5 minutes to use it again. However, she refused to stay back as Toji suggested and insisted on fighting with him. She gripped her sword, reminding him of her weapon's divinity that naturally counters the current enemy. With that, it was settled that they were going to fight together. The archdemon prepared to fight, throwing a storm of demonic energy towards Toji, to which he deflected with a sword slash. He remarked that the Archie-man was a hasty one. He also realized that the demon wasn't taking them seriously and was just playing with them. He raised his sword and enveloped it in electricity as he activated his thundering blade. He then unleashed electrifying heavy swing directly against the Archie-man. It was followed by Luffen's Van Argen skill. The Archie-man extended his hands, catching and shattering their combined attacks like they were nothing. But Toji wasn't done yet. He activated the Flame Master skill and conjured a fireball. He then fired it directly to the enemy, but it didn't even leave a scratch. Rin dashed in and unleashed a holy sword slash against the enemy. Seeing that her attacks were able to deal damage to the Archiman, she smiled and thought that she could do it. The Archiman began emitting a storm of demonic energy towards her, but she effortlessly deflected all of it with her sword. Suddenly, Toji called out to her and warned her, but it was too late. The Archdemon had already finished preparing his attack. Rin could only close her eyes and flinch. She was then sent away by a powerful attack from the Archdemon. She slammed to the wall, dealing damage to her. He worriedly called out to her upon seeing what had happened. She stood up and assured him that he was fine. She then held her sword in front of her, closing her eyes as she chanted spells to awaken her sword's holy powers. A powerful surge of divine energy was emitted as he released her skill. She threw a sharp gaze towards the enemy as she prepared to attack, launching a merciless chain of attacks against the Archdemon. She then turned to Toji and called his name. He wasted no time and swung his sword at her call, successfully landing his attack against the enemy. He then turned and called to Luffy, who immediately unleashed his cutting skill. A massive and powerful explosion ensued. They stood there wondering if that was able to finish the monster off, but they are surprised the Archdemon was still seen standing. Upon closer look, it seems like he wasn't affected. But then Loki assured them that their attacks worked, but the monster turned out to be possessing regenerative abilities and simply recovered from the damage. She suggested that they either continuously deal damage until its healing can't keep up or defeat the archdemon in a single and powerful strike. He then turned to Rin, thinking she's going to need more time to use that skill again. He then turned to Loki and asked her to undo the seal on heavenly authority, confusing the god of trickery. She revealed that the seal made by her wordplay already wore off long ago. He was surprised, then turned to Rin to discuss his plan. But then the archdemon raised his hand, then unleashed another powerful storm of demonic energy upon them. Rin looked up at the monster with dread, while the archdemon finally cast his spell. An obliterating burst of demonic energy was fired towards them. The archdemon seemed to be delighted upon seeing them take a direct hit. As the smoke died down, a voice was heard. The heavenly authority skill was finally activated. Toji was standing there unscathed as he was enveloped in the powerful energy of the heavens. He declared that this is where the real fight begins, fearlessly facing the surprised Archieman. Upon activating his trump card skill, he can now confidently face the Archieman. Rin called his name and asked what skill was that. He dismissed her question and instead asked her to use her skill at his signal. There was 60 seconds remaining on the skill duration of the heavenly authority. He dashed and instantly closed the distance between him and the archdemon. He swung his sword to take the enemy down, but he managed to block it with his bare hands. But it was too late when the archdemon realized Toji had already landed an obliterating kick on his head that sent him backwards. But the cornered rat wasn't finished yet, so he activated his Flame Master ability. Multiple fireballs were then simultaneously conjured all around him. He then hurled them towards the enemy. But the archdemon won't just take it unmoving as he unleashed his skill, deflecting all the fireballs with his violent rampage of demonic energy. He already expected such a high-level monster to survive that kind of attack. He then took off, charging towards the archdemon. In response, he condensed the demonic energy in his mouth. It then grew larger as he accumulated immense amounts of it. He then released the powerful ball of raw demonic energy to which he evaded successfully. He swung his sword against the archdemon, but he leaned back to evade. Loki reminded him of the time left on his skill duration, saying he must settle it within a minute. Blitzes of electricity were then seen. The Archieman was surprised as Toji commanded him to not move, his words laced with the power of the wordplay skill. The Archiman's movements were then restricted as per his command. Toji wasted no time and activated Thunderbolt, summoning an immense burst of lightning against the unmoving Archieman. But he wasn't finished yet and followed up with multiple fireballs, hurling them towards the Archieman and causing an explosion. The demon was seen being scorched. His attacks are definitely working. He knew that he had to keep the momentum and immediately followed up with a dash, intercepting the archdemon who tried to escape. He kicked him down the ground back to where the explosions were. The Archieman tried to get up, but was surprised to see that Toji disappeared. He then appeared behind him and taunted him for being a slowpoke. He immediately turned back upon hearing his voice, only to be greeted by a heavy downward sword slash from Toji. Rin and Luffin were delighted to see that Toji was dealing damage. But amidst his ruthless swordplay against the Archieman, he knew that it wasn't over yet. He needed more damage to guarantee that the Archieman goes down. The Archieman then roared, activating his Dark Lightning skill and condensing an immense amount of demonic energy. He raised his sword to prepare for his final blow as he told Rin to use her skill. Rin was hesitant because Toji might get caught up in it, but he assured her that it would be fine and asked her to believe in him. Hearing his words, she had no choice but to comply and began preparing her skill. Countless stars lit up the sky as he activated Turnag, illuminating the whole boss room. With both their sword skills combined, Toji bade his farewell to the archdemon. He finally unleashed the Varnigan together with Rin's Turnag against the demon. A massive explosion ensued. Rin's desperate and worried voice was heard. She wondered if they did take down the boss and if Toji was alright. But within the thick smoke of the explosion, the archdemon's eyes were still burning with life. He paved the smoke by exuding an overwhelming amount of demonic energy as he roared. Dread creeped all over Rin's face as she realized that their combined attacks weren't enough. As the monster continued rampaging, a voice was heard commanding him to not use skills. Suddenly, the demon found himself entangled within the chains of restriction. Toji's wordplay skill was activated. And for the main twist, Rin's turnout has been successfully copied. He began chanting the same spells she chanted, eyes glowing azure. The skies were then lit up by countless blue stars as he exuded a powerful cosmic energy. Looking back, he knew that Rin's original skill is designed as an area of effect skill and is weak against a single target. He activated the same skill, but reformatted it a little bit to make it a single target strike. A powerful burst of cosmic energy was unleashed from his pawns, mercilessly obliterating the archdemon. Behind was Rin watching him in awe. He didn't just copy her skill, but even modified it skillfully. The archdemon began disintegrating into pieces as he was hit by the attack. Toji knelt and picked up the magic stone from the archdemon. Rin said she couldn't believe that he was able to defeat even archdemon. He expressed his happiness that things ended up well. Rin looked at him with mesmerized eyes, thinking about how she enjoys going on adventures together with him. At the Japan Dungeon Management Organization, the receptionist congratulated them for clearing the dungeon and gave them their reward. Seeing their earnings, Loki was excited to spend them on delicious food. He also managed to level up quite a bit, but Loki reminded him that he was still far from being rivals with a god. Toji asked if Rin won't really report the Ackerman, to which she said they won't believe her anyway. The mood then turned serious as she asked about his real skill. Hearing her question, his pupils dilated in surprise. He closed his eyes knowing that he can't hide it any longer. She also asked how he managed to come that far despite being deemed as an incompetent failure. He hid a sigh, then asked her to meet him on the rooftop after school so he can tell her everything. Explosions were seen on the first floor of the Goblin's Den dungeon. It was Kazu venting out his frustrations as he unleashed his fiery wrath. He couldn't accept that Toji managed to beat him. As he continued, a shadow creeped up from behind him and greeted him. He angrily turned back to see who it was, only to be called weakling by a mysterious woman. Hearing this insult utterly infuriated him. Full of murderous intent, he casted his flames against the mysterious woman, but she just smiled and deflected them like they were nothing. He was surprised to see his skills being easily disabled like that. The woman approached and acknowledged his potential, asking if he desired power. The confused Kazu asked her to get to the point already, to which she declared she has the power to grant him the power he seeks. She elegantly covered her lips with her fan and said he may wield such power to fulfill his desires. Kazu bit his lips in utter frustration, asking if he could really get stronger. The woman's words were like that of an alluring demon tempting Kazu. At the rooftop, Rin was waiting for Toji to explain what he had to explain. Loki asked if he's really going to tell her, to which he said he could trust her. He started narrating at the part where Kazu tried to sacrifice him in the bonus room, surprising Rin. He revealed that the trap sent him into a mythic rank dungeon where he met a certain power who granted him power. Rin was surprised to hear that it was a mythic rank dungeon. She also asked him what kind of power he was talking about. She also asked him what kind of power was it. To quickly explain everything, he decided to hand over his adventurer's card. She was surprised upon seeing its contents. She then turned to him, recalling that his skill was imitate. But what's written on the card was copycat instead of imitate. Loki then spoke and said it was the power she granted him. She wore a mischievous smile as she introduced himself. While Rin was surprised by her sudden appearance, the trickster god assured her that she's not an enemy. Rin was totally confused upon hearing that she was a god. She further explained that mythic rank dungeons are domains ruled over by gods. Her eyes then dilated. She made a flashy introduction as the mighty ruler of the mythic rank dungeon trickstar. The two of them couldn't begin to comprehend why a god like Loki would act like that. Meanwhile, Loki ignored their reactions and further explained her situation with Toji. He agreed to her narration, to which Rin finally understood what happened. She then threw a glance at him and speculated that the true source of his strength lies elsewhere. She then asked why he never lost the will to fight even after being betrayed by Kazu. He then revealed to her about his sister's curse being the reason why he keeps moving forward. Loki explained to her that his sister was cursed by another god. He backed it up and further said that he has to keep fighting till he's able to find them. She looked at him with sad eyes upon hearing his story. With firm resolve in her voice, she declared that she would help him in his quest of slaying that god. Toji was surprised upon hearing this, to which she revealed about the promise she made to her grandpa about clearing dungeon. She then bumped her fist into his chest, reminding him that they made a guild together. Toji was speechless. Then that silence turned into a smile as he expressed his gratitude. She extended her hands to shake, to which Toji reached it. With this, they finally sealed their bond as adventure buddies. At their house, Mi was utterly surprised. She turned to Toji and asked who was the girl with him. Rin politely introduced herself to Miyu, who seemed petrified by the unusual situation in front of her. She then blushed and exclaimed that her brother just brought an incredibly beautiful lady to their home. She began panicking, saying she didn't expect this day to come too soon. In the midst of her panicking, she began coughing terribly. Toji immediately checked up on his sister. Rin remarked that the curse placed on Mei was indeed an awful one. Toji assisted his sister, who was trembling. She tried to assure him that she was fine and still had to make dinner for them. But Rin then intervened and volunteered to prepare their dinner. She assured him that she'll make some extra delicious food that will make her feel better in no time. He tried to refuse, to which she ominously asked if he didn't want to eat her homemade food. Seeing her brother unable to retaliate further, Mai laughed and teased him. As the two of them laughed, Toji thought that he needed to get stronger soon. At the Tenjutsu Academy several days later, Toji noticed that Kazu was absent once again. Rin approached him and handed him a bento box she made, inviting him to eat lunch together. Their other classmates were surprised upon seeing their interaction, making Toji feel a little bit comfortable with the unwanted attention. A few guys then entered the room looking for Toji. He told them that he was the person they were looking for, then asked for their identity, but they didn't answer and instead told him in a commanding voice that he needed to come with them. The man told him to come with them, saying he had no right to refuse. At the conference room, a silhouette of a man was heard apologizing for suddenly summoning him. Toji knew that the man in front of him was the director of JDM and is Kazu's father. Tadu wore a strict face as he asked him about Kazu's whereabouts. Toji was surprised to learn that he has been missing for the past several days. He then asked if they believed he had something to do with his disappearance. Tadu said that it was natural since Kazu subjected him to some terrible treatment. However, he knew that everything was finished after he defeated him in a duel fairly. He also looked at the dungeon Kazu was last seen in, figuring out that Toji had no records of visiting that place. Seeing that he was eliminated in the list of suspects, he asked why Tadu summoned him there. The old man then revealed that they have already dispatched the search team, but it wasn't easy. Ren then chimed in and guessed that Kazu entered the intermediate rank dungeon, the Infernal moor. Toji was surprised to see her suddenly enter the room and asked what she was doing there. She didn't answer him and instead apologized to them for being late. Tadu didn't mind and signaled his subordinate to prepare the video. The subordinate flashed a video log taken the day before showing Kazu in a dungeon. As they watched, Loki seemed to have noticed something. It was then revealed that there were no records of his D-card entry scan, surprising Toji. Tadu knew it wasn't possible, making an ominous fact that it still happened. Rin chimed in and asked for the findings of the dispatched search team, to which they revealed that the search team was completely wiped out. Hearing this, the two of them were surprised while he revealed that the second team is still searching. He then turned to Toji and asked if he noticed anything odd during their fight. He looked surprised as he said that he didn't notice anything. As the meeting went on, Loki called out to him. She said that they have stepped into a bigger mess than he realized, prompting him to ask if she knew something. She revealed that she could sense something from the video, further intriguing Toji. She revealed that there was a presence of a god, the same one who cursed his sister. Toji was surprised upon hearing her revelation. He suddenly stood up, confusing Ren. Even Tadu and his subordinate were surprised by his sudden actions. Loki further confirmed that it was definitely the presence of another god like her. He closed his eyes, then turned to Tadu and requested that he allow him to join the search effort. Tadu's voice was strict as he asked what had just said, confused. Both the old man and his subordinate expressed their strong disapproval as it was dangerous. Toji gritted his teeth. Ren came to support him and said she will go with him. However, Tadu was firm with his refusal. This left her with no choice but to reveal that they have encountered an archdemon within the last dungeon they raided. She also revealed that the one who defeated it was none other than Toji himself. The old man and his subordinate find their claim absurd, but then the receptionist chimed in and confirmed that the magic stone they brought back was indeed that of an archdemon. Tadu still couldn't believe the student did it. He then closed his eyes, finally permitting the two of them to join the search. The subordinate was surprised and questioned his decision, to which the old man said that they can never have too many capable hands on the job. He then turned to Rin and Toji, bowing his head as he politely asked for them to say to his son. Their faces were brimming with determination as they agreed to a loving father's request. With this, they decided to immediately head to the dungeon right away. As they walked towards entrance of the dungeon, Rin asked him for a proper explanation of what was going on. He revealed that Loki told him that the same god who cursed his sister might have been involved in this, surprising Rin as she asked if it was true. He said that nothing is certain yet. They finally arrived at the entrance of the dungeon. They were praying that they are not too late yet. Inside, a bloodbath had already occurred as everyone was lying on the ground. The last remaining survivor picked up his sword, wondering how things turned out like that. In front of them was a mysterious hooded man wielding his sword. It was Kazu. He was gradually losing his humanity. The survivor unleashed his gale blade towards the mysterious man, who seemed bothered as the attack approached him. He extended his hand, effortlessly deflecting the survivor's attack with his flames. Multiple crimson fireballs were then conjured simultaneously surrounding the survivor. He then closed his hands and released the skill, unleashing a powerful fiery retribution to the pitiful adventurer. The mysterious woman from earlier then appeared, delighted by his improvement. She flashed a wicked grin as she urged him to let out all of that vile hatred festering within him. Inside the dungeon, Loki was freaking out because of the hot temperature. In front of them were scorching hot mountain ranges and a flowing lake made out of lava. It turns out that the trickster god wasn't a fan of hot places. She can feel it even if she hasn't manifested there. The three of them continued traversing the hell-like dungeon as Rin reminded him to be cautious at all times. Toji pointed out the need to hurry, to which she reminded him that this dungeon is more difficult than the Abode of the Dead, and they may end up dead in an instant if they lose their cool. In front of them was a scaly monster glaring at them, its long serpentine tongue sticking out, standing as he boasted his reptilian figure. It was a level 33 lizard man. The two of them immediately prepared for the upcoming battle. Toji wasted no time and immediately charged forward. He swung his sword against the lizard man, but the monster was able to effortlessly parry his attack. He let out a vicious screech as he followed up with another attack, to which Toji countered with a sword slash. Rin prepared to step into the battle. She then slashed the lizard man successfully in his belly. Toji conjured multiple fireballs at once as he activated the Flame Master skill, scorching off the reptilian foe. His attack was so powerful that the monster disintegrated upon contact. As he picked up the magic stone, Rin's facial expression dimmed. There were two more monsters, a level 36 lizard man and a level 33 red panther, were waiting for the two of them. Luffy took the lead this time and charged forward, followed by Rin from behind him. Toji activated wordplay and commanded the enemies to not move. To their surprise, they found their movements suddenly restricted. Rin saw this valuable chance. She immediately unleashed a ruthless store play against the red panther. Meanwhile, Toji activated the thundering blade and enveloped his sword in lightning. He then charged forward and stabbed the lizard man to the chest. With his eyes glowing azure as electricity blitzed all around him, he made his skill burst from within the lizard man and successfully obliterated its body. After defeating the monsters, the two of them decided to keep advancing. As they arrived in the Minobo's room, they were greeted by a swarm of wyverns roaming in the skies. They find it annoying that these enemies can fly. Toji wasted no time and immediately struck them down with his thundering blade. The wyvern was riddled with electric shock, but it took them no time to break free from his thundering blade. He gritted his teeth upon seeing his skills do no damage. Loki told them that a mere shock won't be enough to take these wyverns down. A fierce battle then ensued between the three of them against the wyvern. Rin finds it annoying that the wyverns were using tactics despite being mere monsters. Tired of the enemies using their aerial advantage, Toji activated wordplay and commanded them to fall. The wyverns felt an absolute force imposed on them, dragging them down back to the ground. Toji activated his flame skills, showering the wyverns with fireballs as Lupin and Rin engaged with the enemies directly. A wyvern was able to block her sword, even parrying her attack as it pushed her back. Luffy fiercely fought with another wyvern as Toji and Rin followed behind. He raised his sword, unleashing a heavy downward blow against the wyvern. A magic stone appeared upon successfully killing the monster, but then he sensed something. Behind him was a wyvern's tail speeding like a whip towards him. He managed to block it with his sword at the last moment. At this point, there was no end to the swarm of monsters and they are slowly starting overwhelmed. Toji then pushed back the wyvern with his sword. He then leaped, charging towards the wyvern with a heavy swing that decapitated its head. Rin was surprised to see what he did. A swarm of wyverns then charged towards him, prompting him to prepare his next attack. He activated his firestorm, unleashing a tornado of his obliterating fiery wrath against the monsters. Loki reminded him that the monsters were fire-resistant, to which he said that his attack wasn't just activated Thunderbolt and mixed it with his flames, electrocuting and scorching the wyverns at the same time. Rin was surprised to see him layering the skills on top of one another, but Toji wasn't finished yet. He casted Turnorb to follow up with powerful damage. Rin watched him in awe, knowing that she's not capable of producing such an overwhelming power. After taking the wyverns down all at once, Toji suggested that they hurry. They continued traversing the dungeon, wondering where the search team could be. As they ran, Loki warned him that she's having a bad feeling about this. As they arrived at the boss room, what greeted them was the annihilated members of the search party. Luffy found one of the survivors and called their attention. Toji and Rin immediately came to aid the man, but then a mysterious figure emerged. The survivor identified the figure as the one who annihilated the search party. Standing before them was a hooded figure wielding a sword. Toji was then surprised. That man was none other than Kazu himself. Kazu flashed a wicked smile. He threw a malicious glare towards Rin and Toji, who were surprised to see him in that state. She wondered if it was really him. The aura surrounding him was far too different, ominous and dark. Toji tried to talk to him, urging him to come back. He had so many questions for him, but he had to prioritize getting out of the dungeon first. Kazu wore that wicked smile his once again. A wyvern then emerged in front of them, hovering just above Kazu. Rin and Toji were surprised. He then turned back, prompting Toji to ask where he was going. His face was full of worrying and confusion. Kazu then began vanishing into thin air, surprising Toji even more while Loki warned him. The wyvern immediately charged forward to attack him, to which he drew his sword out in response. As he stood triumphantly beside the wyvern he had just killed, he couldn't help but feel worried about Kazu. Rin rushed toward him and asked if he was alright, to which he assured her that he was fine and asked about the search team. She said everyone was still alive and asked if the guy they just saw was Kazu. Toji was certain that it was indeed him, but wondered where he ran off to. Loki told him that he was in the boss room. She further explained that what they saw was just a phantom, and he was in the boss room the entire time. Not knowing what to do, held his head while Ren asked him what was wrong, then told her that Kazu was in the boss room asking her what to do. She caressed her chin and contemplated the situation. Toji then turned and declared that he's going to the boss room, urging her to head back and call for backup. She stopped him on his tracks and told him that it was too dangerous. He gritted his teeth. He knew that what he was doing was reckless. However, he can never let this chance to deal with that guy go to waste. Rin was reminded of his sister's circumstances. She then told him that she will be coming with him, saying that she can never let him walk into dangerous territory alone. As they wondered who would call for backup, the survivor volunteered for that role. He told the Toji and Rin not to worry about them and just focus on the enemy. Rin then handed him a teleportation stone, prompting him to ask if he was sure. She smiled and said that it was just a spare, so he can freely use it. The survivor frowned, then bowed his head as he expressed his doubt of gratitude. He then teleported away, leaving the two of them. Toji asked if she really needed to lie by saying it was a spare, to which she reasoned out that he wouldn't have accepted it otherwise. Now that there's no longer any cause for concern, the two of them decided to finally get going. Toji pushed the gate leading to the boss room. Inside, they were greeted by a fiery lake and the boss monster, a level 45 salamander. Toji ordered Kazu, who was standing beside the boss monster, to take off his hood. He once again flashed that wicked smile of his, taking off his hood and revealing his face riddled with veins. Toji remarked that it was like he became a completely different person. He gripped his sword to prepare for the battle. Toji volunteered to handle the boss while he left Kazu to Rin and Luffin. She agreed and promised to defeat Kazu quickly. So if he can come help him deal with the boss, Toji reminded her to not let her guard down as he wasn't the Kazu they knew. She couldn't help but remark that he was indeed a troublemaker, to which Toji agreed. The salamander stepped forward, exerting his domineering presence against the three of them. Unfazed, they wasted no time and immediately lunged against the enemy. Toji's sword was enveloped in lightning blitzes. While the salamander prepared for the approaching adventurer, the two finally got to each other's face, marking the beginning of an intense clash. Meanwhile, Rin turned to Kazu and asked him, wondering if there's any chance he'll come back with them quietly. He didn't speak and instead conjured multiple fireballs simultaneously. With his answer, Rin told him that she won't hold back. She declared that she would crush him with all her might, then squeeze him for answers later on. Kazu released his fireballs and hurled them towards Rin. Unfazed, she charged forward amidst the shower of fireballs together with Luffin. He managed to get close and slash Kazu with his claws while Rin sneaked behind for a follow-up attack. She managed to close in and deliver a cut to his chest, pushing him back a considerable distance, but she wasn't done yet and charged forward once again. Kazu only smiled in response, then unleashed an enormous amount of ominous mana all over the place. Rin and Lupin were having a hard time approaching amidst this storm of violent energy. Kazu hurled multiple enhanced fireballs towards them, but then another set of fireballs were fired from the opposite direction to intercept them. A massive explosion ensued as the opposing fireballs collided. Rin was surprised to see Toji dashing beside her. She asked if he already defeated the boss, to which he said he was still far from doing so. The salamander let out a loud roar as it exuded the same ominous manner as Kazu. With this, Loki finally confirmed her intuitions as she warned Toji. His face was then filled with surprise upon her revelation. Kazu's power was identical to the one who cursed Mayu. Toji and Rin stood side by side as they prepared for another round of the battle. He was then surprised when Loki confirmed the involvement of the god who cursed Mayu. He then asked her if she wasn't playing jokes on her, to which she confirmed it was for real. Loki told him to defeat Kazu no matter what or else he would die. Hearing this, Toji resolved to give it his all. Rin then turned to him and suggested that they focus on both targets. He agreed to her plan as he realized that it was risky to divide their forces. Rin was confused and asked what he meant by that, to which he finally revealed to her that the salamander's power was that of the one who cursed Mayu. She finally understood that they were up against the servants of a god. With this, the two of them prepared for the next round of the battle. Rin decided to get serious. She's now going all out. She then called upon the stars as she chanted spells in front of the salamander and Kazu. With her eyes brimming with the intent to end things already, she unleashed the maximum output of her skill. She released Turnak against the enemies, causing a powerful explosion. Toji and Luffin wasted no time as they immediately charged forward for a follow-up attack. But then Kazu came out of the explosion unscathed as he exuded his ominous manner. The two of them engaged in a fierce sword fight. As they clashed, Toji called to Luffy, who was preparing his attack. He then unleashed his claw energy against Kazu, who managed to block it. Still, Luffy tried to push back. Toji immediately rushed towards him and told him to snap out of it. He unleashed his thunderbolt toward him and sent him flying. He then turned back and called to Rin, who was done with her preparations for the holy sword release. She assumed her fighting stance and was ready to defeat the boss in one shot, but Kazu suddenly charged towards her while calling her name. Both of them were surprised to see his sudden actions. Rin was having a hard time blocking his attack. He then kicked her, sending her flying and fully disabled her skill. He then activated his Flame Master skill, summoning multiple shadow daggers. He then hurled them towards her while she desperately tried to deflect them, but then she was hit by the daggers, injuring her. Kazu wasn't finished. He grinned like a maniac as he told her to burn for him. The daggers embedded in Rin's flesh then ignited, causing a massive explosion while Toji could only watch from afar. She was severely injured, bleeding all over the place. She weakly called Toji and apologized for letting her guard down. He and Luffin immediately rushed towards her. He placed her in his arms and checked up on her, to which she said she can't fight anymore. He clenched his fist and told her to get some rest. He left the unconscious Rin in Luffin's care. He stood up and activated Heavenly Authority, enveloping himself in the energy of the heavens. His eyes were glowing azure as he prepared to attack. He then dashed towards the salamander. Despite uncertainties about its duration, he commanded the monster to not move. His words laced with the power of wordplay. As the monster's mobility was restricted, he immediately dashed towards Kazu and punched him in the face. It was so powerful that he was sent several meters backwards. Kazu conjured multiple of his ominous daggers in response, but Toji disabled all of them with his ferocious sword play. A powerful explosion ensued, but Toji didn't mind it and dashed in once again. He engaged in a sword fight with Kazu while exuding electricity all around his body. None of them were willing to back off. They continued pushing forward. Kazu managed to sneakily conjure his daggers behind Toji, but his superb reflexes allowed him to activate the Thundering Blade in time, disabling all of the daggers aimed at him behind his back. Kazu was surprised, but it was too late for him already as Toji managed to land a kick on his chest. Now that he's staggered, Toji finally finds a chance to use wordplay. He commands him to sleep. Without so much as a struggle, he fell down to the ground. He only has 45 seconds remaining for the skill duration as he faced the salamander, who let out a loud roar. With this, it was finally time for him to go all out. He wasted no time and immediately dashed towards salamander, hurling multiple fireballs against it. The salamander was then pierced by his fireballs, making it roar in agonizing pain. But Toji wasn't finished yet and closed in, then unleashed a powerful cosmic retribution as he called upon the stars and activated Turnorg. He didn't stop there and continued to approach the salamander. He raised his sword and enveloped it in the Denzenon manner. He then unleashed a heavy downward swing, hurling a powerful cutting energy towards the salamander. But to his surprise, his sword broke. The salamander survived his attack and is now ready to counter. As Toji was about to activate Thunderbolt, all the protective mana around his body dispersed. The Heavenly Authority skill duration had come to an end. Caught off guard, he was hit by the salamander's attack and was sent flying. He finds himself in a hopeless situation. His trump card skill didn't work, and now he's lost his weapon. Seeing things going south, Loki grumbled as she decided to step in and help him. Sparks of godly energy were emitted as she pulled something out of a different dimension. She then turned to Toji and told him to use the new weapon she brought. It was a sword that Loki deems to be the ace up her sleeve. Toji was stunned as he watched the sword with awe. His eyes were fixated on its beauty, and he seemed to recognize this sword. Loki pulled out a magnificent sword out of thin air. Toji stared at it with eyes full of amazement and awe. He seemed to have recognized how powerful the sword is. He immediately grabbed it and thanked Loki. With the new sword in his hand, he can now keep on fighting. From a distance, Rin was watching Toji wield the sword, sensing a power that either rivals or surpasses her holy sword. She wondered what that sword is. Loki explained that the sword possesses the mythical flame that consumes all creation, the levitating. She then turned to Loki and told him to give the enemy a taste of the fire that scorches even the gods. Toji threw a sharp glare towards the monster, wielded his fiery sword as he faced the salamander, telling himself that he can do it. He then ran towards the enemy with his flaming sword. The salamander countered by swinging his claws down, only to experience a taste of Toji's new sword. In no time, the salamander's limb was seen hovering in the air, decapitated. Toji was not done yet and grabbed his sword firmly. While the salamander used its whip-like tail to attack, he swung down his fiery sword, cutting off through his tail like a hot knife on a butter. The monster was utterly enraged and unleashed a wild attack to which he evaded. As he landed beside Loki, he couldn't help but tell her how amazed he is by the power of his new sword. The trickster god laughed confidently upon hearing this, saying it is to be expected from her weapon of choice. Meanwhile, the salamander has begun condensing thick amounts of fiery energy in his mouth. He then unleashed it as a ray of obliterating flame towards Toji. He prepared himself as the attack approached him, his eyes watching thoroughly as he looked forward to the attack. He then swung his fiery sword, successfully intercepting the enemy's powerful fireball. He was able to return the fireball back with his sword like a batter and a baseball, filling the field with raging flames as the ball changed its trajectory. A powerful explosion ensued upon successfully returning the attack. Loki shielded Luffy and the amazed Rin from the explosion, remarking that Toji only used about 1/3 of the sword's full power. Salamander still managed to survive and let out a loud roar. Tired of its pointless noise, Toji told him to shut up and leaped in the air. Eyes brimming of the intent to kill, he lunged down the salamander, unleashing a powerful fiery cutting energy towards the monster. It successfully hit the salamander directly in the face, producing a massive explosion upon contact. No salamander was present in sight as the explosion dispersed. Only a large crater and traces of Toji's undying flames. At the center of the crater was the magic stone. Rin tried her best to stand up and commended Toji. She turned to Kazu, who was still sleeping under Toji's wordplay command. Loki said that is still far from slaying a god if he still struggled against a mere salamander. Despite finding her remarks harsh, he still thanked her for helping him. The trickster god seemed to be weak to gratitude, blushing as she tried to be cool about it. But then an ominous energy was felt, surprising the three of them. From quite a distance standing was a mysterious woman, to which Toji questioned her identity. The woman didn't answer and instead mocked Loki for hanging out with humans, to which she menacingly retorted and called her a crafty vixen. The injured Rin watched the mysterious woman, her eyes full of dread as she realized that the woman was a monster in human form. Toji then asked if she was the god who cursed Moyu, displeasing the woman as she told him to keep his mouth shut. She then unleashed an ominous energy directed to Toji's direction. Loki then clapped. She was not amused by the woman's petty antics and unleashed her own godly energy, transforming into a more powerful form. She threatened the woman with a fight to death if she did not stop being petty. Toji was surprised to see her new form, wondering what it is. Even the mysterious woman remarked that she had grown quite a bit compared to her earlier appearance. Loki menacingly retorted and said that such a form of hers is more than enough to kill her. The mysterious woman finds it amusing that Loki plans to kill her while protecting humans. She unleashed her godly energy as she grew tired of her insults, throwing dagger stares toward Loki as she threatened to kill her. Toji asked once again if she was the one who cursed Moyu, to which the trickster god introduced her as the ruler of the mythic ranked dungeon, Nine Tails of Beauty. She was widely known as Tomonomi, the wicked god who cursed his sister. The Nine Tails exude an immense amount of energy. It was revealed that she was the culprit who pulled the strings behind the incident. Toji's face darkened upon hearing that she was the one who cursed his sister. He was utterly enraged, to which Loki told him to calm himself as he had no chance of winning yet. But he was too blinded by rage and charged recklessly towards the nine-tailed god. His eyes brimming with murderous intent, he swung his fiery sword against her. The wicked god just laughed as if mocking him. Toji slashed her with all his might, but he was effortlessly blocked by the god. She then pushed him back with her iron fan, then landed a perfect palm strike against his chest. He was sent flying with that attack, slamming against the wall. Loki reiterated that he had no chance of winning, while Rin worriedly called to him. But he still won't listen and activated his Flame Master skill, summoning multiple fireballs at once. He then hurled them towards the god. As the fireballs approached her, she recognized that it was Kazu's fire skill. She opened her iron fan, then deflected all of them with minimal movement. The fireballs changed their trajectory, returning all of them back to Toji. He groaned in pain as he was hit by his very own skills. A massive explosion followed up, while Rin and Loki could only watch. Loki revealed that the Nine Tails Iron Fan has the ability to reflect most skills. The fact that no human skills could break through her defense makes her a formidable foe. Toji still tried to get up, albeit weakly. The Ninetails seemed amused that he was still able to stand after taking that attack. She commended her fighting spirit, though spirit alone won't be enough to defeat her. Toji was panting as he threw a glare at the god. The god looked at him, cryptically revealing that she had realized something. She flashed an ominous smile as she found humans very interesting. Toji couldn't understand what she was trying to say, to which she taunted him and said he had to defeat her if he wanted to know. This provocation worked as she got him all riled up and recklessly charging at her, his face full of desperation and murderous intent. He had fallen into the Nine Tails trap as she unleashed her godly energy. It was already too late when Toji realized it. A massive explosion occurred upon her activation of skill. Alright, that's the end of the story. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.